All right.
All right. Hello, everybody. It's Squire and Joy welcoming you to MVP Office Hours, March 20th, 2020, in the time of COVID-19 quarantine for everybody, right? We're here to talk to everybody about challenges and problems that you might have with Salesforce, because we can, problem solve together. And you can find more information at MVP Office Hours on Twitter. You can follow Jared, Dale, myself, Esquire on Twitter. Our handles are on the slide. And you can get additional information at mvpofficehours.info. We're also highlighting events that are by Salesforce. You can see that at admin.salesforce.com. /all-events. Customer success event calendar is on the slide also. Trailhead events, webinars calendars, and then upcoming Dreamin' events, which are making a wild adjustment right now. There's been some postponements and adjustments. London's Calling went off today virtual, and it's been interesting to see the Twitter feed on that. Southeast Dreamin' has been postponed till August. True North Dreamin', I think, is in the process of making changes. If anyone knows differently, let us know. Dream-O-Lay, South Florida Dreamin', Philly Force has been postponed. And then Virtual Dreamin', which is by nature virtual. So take a look at that. And then we encourage everyone to engage with their local community groups in person and virtually. You can join a Trailblazer group, success.salesforce.com/featured groups, and you can sign up for meeting invites at trailblazercommunitygroups.com. We have this MVP Office Hours call the first and third Friday of every month. The next call, as Squire and I discussed just moments ago, is April 3rd. Our format is an open Q&A. Registration link does not change. The bit.ly/MVPOHUS. The recordings are available in the community and Twitter and YouTube. We have a whole library in YouTube. Goes back a couple of years, is my understanding. Everyone participates. Share your experience, input, and recommendations. Don't forget to mute yourself if you're not talking, but please remember to unmute yourself when you have something to tell us. Announce yourself, let us know who you are. Use the chat window to post any resources or links, and then we can share them. And then you can share your screen, but just be sure not to show us any sensitive data because it is being recorded and shared publicly. Do we have any MVPs on the call? Any MVPs on the call? You
Carlos
raise your
is always
hand.
here. You know that.
There's Carlos. I see Carlos. Fantastic.
Hello.
All right, so it looks like Carlos, Joy, and Squire are the MVPs on the line today. Carlos also hosts MVP Office Hours in Portuguese. And you guys can all see me chatting away, can't you? Okay. And then the Portuguese office hours are the last Thursday of the month. And I don't know what the status of the EMEA office hours, but Carlos does a really phenomenal job of translating anything into English. You don't have to speak Spanish or Portuguese to get on that call. You can get on the call and you can learn a lot of new things in that environment also. So we encourage you to join the global MVP office hours if this time slot doesn't necessarily work for you. All right, so does anyone have anything to kick us off?
If I could just jump in really quick, two things I think are important for the group and hopefully to disseminate to the rest of the group. The first is, if you haven't had an opportunity to implement or utilize Quip, Salesforce is extending the trial to be a 6-month trial. I believe it ends the end of September, but you have the opportunity to build a site and utilize it beyond the normal temporary, which I think is 200 posts, if I remember what the normal one is. So personally, I'm using that to kind of relaunch the opportunity of Quip as a tool for our company. And because we'll have more time to play, as admins, our team is using it in every way we can think of in order to then translate that into a business use case. It's a great chance to collaborate. It's got a good chat tool. And since I think the majority of people are in a virtual world right now, it's another great way to stay on page. So definitely do that. And then Carlos, thank you for posting that. The cert maintenance fees and additionally, there are some changes to the way that certs can be taken for the foreseeable future. So that article covers quite a bit of it. Carlos, does that also cover the camera issue as well as the maintenance fees?
Yes, it does. I read through. I would never do it, certifications from home because a lot of people had the issues. But with this time zero for uncertainty, you might do two things. You might just postpone and do in the future. But if you say, no, I really want to do it right now, I'm ready to do it. Yes, they said that they're making easier here to do it from home as well.
Cool. And
a lot of places, a lot of web assessors, they are closed right now. I got a couple messages here that I have a certification exam for coming up, and they just postpone like a way in the future, which is fine for me.
Sure. I mean, and a great call out. If we're working from home, hopefully we've gained a couple hours a week to not have to drive. So maybe that means you have a chance to re-engage on a cert that you've been wanting to do. So maybe use this time wisely, or use it to watch the news and be disappointed. So anyway, those are the two things I wanted to bring up. Anybody else?
One more thing about Salesforce and the trainings is I had an in-person training scheduled, and they shifted to virtual, and are sending me a headset and a camera for the training. And so I'm very confused by the whole thing, but I'm happy to do it. So their Salesforce has been ahead of the curve and wildly accommodating, and I appreciate the leadership that they've shown us. So here's to trainings, right?
Yeah, and I'll offer, I do almost all of my Salesforce University training virtual just to save the cost of the trip, and I have had great success in all of them. I've probably had a dozen. So definitely don't, I think sometimes virtual training can feel a little bit uncomfortable for people who haven't been through one that Salesforce runs, but they're really interactive. The labs are great. Mimeo is a great tool in order to share the documentation. It's a great opportunity to spend some time and do that too. So
for sure.
Cool.
All right. What's our chat looking like?
It is quiet, but that doesn't necessarily mean there's no questions. Come
on.
The floor is open. And I saw Marty, and I know she always has a laundry list of things she's trying to solve every week. So I'm hoping she's got something in her back pocket.
Oh, Brittany has a question about too many SOCL queries. Brittany, go ahead and unmute yourself.
Hello there. Yes, so I have an integrated order management system with our Salesforce instance. And this order management system basically slices our database of customers into 7 different parts and updates 1/7 of the database for each day of the week. Specifically, we're updating based off of the customer's order history and segmenting them. So if someone placed a large order this week, then they would get updated to diamond status, for example. The issue I'm running into is that when I attempt to create a workflow rule or a process builder off of that same field segment, then I get this too many SOQL queries 101 error.
Sure.
How can I skirt around this? Or is there a different way we should have built our integration in order to handle this?
There's 2 answers to that. I think this is probably the bane of most admins' existence, is because it's such a vague answer. So can you say a little bit more about what you're building that's throwing the error, just to make sure we answer the question appropriately?
Yes. So for example, a customer may enter lapsed status if they do not place an order for a year. And so I would like to send a notification to reps or possibly fire the process on other fields to let us know that this person is in danger of being retained.
I see. And it's you're querying, but so with your flow or with your process, you're basically querying the entire database for a certain status. Is that right? It's not a triggered event. It's like a scheduled flow to assess all of the data.
No, we want it to be a triggered event. So if a record becomes lapsed, then fire the process.
Oh, I see. So the integration makes a change, but that in turn triggers the flow to do something.
Correct.
Got it. Okay. And the error is happening on the workflow, not on the integration side of things.
Correct.
Cool. All right. So there are lots and lots of questions. I don't have to be the only one that talks, but I'm hoping to anybody else helping out here. But there's lots of limitations to the number of records that can be assessed from a trigger context as well as a process. Bulkification certainly helps, but Carlos, I saw you went off mute. I feel like you've probably got something more valuable to add.
No, not really. I left I'm muting here, but since I'm not exactly a developer, never touch that piece, you know, I'm afraid I couldn't be of a further help here. I'm here
Okay.
to look.
So let's kind of end it a little bit just to make sure I understand the question, because I think I might be able to help a little bit. So when the integration does this update, it assesses a seventh of your data, you said, basically?
Correct.
How many records are we talking about, ballpark?
Oh, like, let's see here. 650 divided by 7. That would be 92,000.
Yeah, okay. So and that's a seventh, or that's the total?
That's a seventh.
Okay, so yeah, so because you're in that multi-thousand range, you're going to have some challenges. So the first one is that, are you familiar with the code that was written to help the integration, or is it an installed package, or someone else helped you with it?
We built it ourselves.
You did. Do you know if it was bulkified?
I do not.
Okay, so that would be the first thing I would offer. It might not have anything to do with the error you're experiencing, but having a developer evaluate whether the DML is bulkified will certainly help dramatically. And if that, like, I'm not sure if that means anything. Is that a terminology that you understand or have experience with?
A little bit. If you could color it, if we have time, that would be great.
Sure. I mean, the idea is that when you send data for DML for change, the Salesforce breaks up that query into smaller chunks of records to evaluate in blocks. When you bulkify, it tells Salesforce to do it slightly differently, allowing you to extend the limits on your SQL, not only the number of records you can handle, but how the limits are applied. There's some really good documentation out there. I'll try to find some between questions to help you explain more, because I'm oversimplifying what it really is doing, but at the end of the day, you're convincing Salesforce to handle massive data change in a different manner so that you don't bump into the limits of standard SQL. SOQL. But then you add one more layer to this, which is if the insert isn't bulkified, then your process isn't bulkified, which means every time a change is happening, it's firing a specific change to your process to trigger again and again and again. So if you updated 1,000 records with the integration, depending on how it's written, you might generate 1,000 process flows, which obviously can be a problem. So there's a couple things that I think you probably would want to start with. So the first thing is just to answer if you've bulkified the code, because that's just a best practice for that many updates. The second piece is you may want to look at having a scheduled flow. So rather than have your process trigger on record change and then send these notifications, you could have a flow box up all of the things that apply. So you could say something like, I'll make up a use case. Say, find all the records got set to we're in trouble, or whatever that status is, or find everything that is at risk of going to out of sync. put those in one box in the flow at the end of the day, and then have it iterate on that to send the emails or send the notifications or send the updates. Because what you end up doing then is letting the flow bulkify itself by grabbing them all at once, rather than having a process trigger for every one of the records that's coming in.
That was very helpful. Yes. And if you have any links in training, I will spend the time to go through them. Thank you.
Yeah, of course. I think the other thing too that I'll offer, as dreadful as it sounds to me as an admin first type developer, if you already have an extensive code base in place to help with this integration, and you've got the skill set either personally or on your team, you might also want to think about, well, why don't we just let the code handle the notifications as well, or the updates? Like, let the integration do all the work versus handing it off between different processes. That's not as easy as it is to do as it is to say, but that might be a step as well.
Got it.
I hope that helps. I feel like I rambled a little bit there.
Oh no, you explained it perfectly. Thank you.
You bet. Okay.
Well, Marty, I'm glad that you're looking for some normalcy. Is there anything else you want to chat about?
No, thank you very much. Just hearing voices talking about something else is good. I'm in California, so I'm locked in.
You're locked in. It's coming. It's coming for everybody. There's another resource. That's been floating around, and I will look for it. But it's a list of virtual events that the Salesforce community is putting together, whether they're just like MVP office hours like this, or they're just community chats. I saw an Ohana wine, happy hour floating around. I've seen a lot of things floating around, and so I know a lot of us are looking for some normalcy. While you're maybe business isn't going along as normal, maybe it's a good time to look at your org and declutter. Take a look at some of that technical debt and start dialing things back and cleaning some stuff up that maybe hasn't gotten your attention in a while. As businesses adjust to this current state. Anyone else have any other concerns out there? Questions? I see Susan's on the line, and Rob. Is anyone, what badges are we working on? Oh, that's a good one. Thank you, Brittany. You said Iman just published Spring Clean Your Salesforce. This is a great way to take a look at things, so that's going to be a great resource for everyone. Anyone have any work from home tips that we haven't seen yet?
If I could offer, if you are not using video for your day-to-day, I highly recommend using it. As silly as it sounds, there's just something about seeing a face that changes like the tone and the effort and the intent of every meeting. Even our stand-ups, we've gone to video conference just so that we don't feel separate or distinct from the rest of the team. We have 10 people trying to collaborate, and using Zoom and collaborating that way has been really, really useful. The other item I'll offer is that there's lots and lots of posts about this, but building a routine around your day when you're trapped in your office is a really good idea. Whether it's just as silly as it sounds, like go through the same exercise you do every day, whether it's shower and brush your teeth and have breakfast, even if you don't need to add that hour to the day, it makes it seem normal. But more importantly, then find ways to schedule breaks that, when you're working in an office, someone's going to ask you for coffee. Sometimes you got to get up and walk across the floor to the printer. But if you are in your office all day, that time can really get lost. And so setting alarms to remind yourself every hour to get up and stretch, or reminding yourself to have lunch, or to even end your day, can really make the time seem less of of isolation and more like, status quo. So
I totally agree with that. And one of the things that we've seen is very useful is opening the blinds, making sure you're near a window, getting outside during one of those breaks, like even if it's just like to go out on your front porch these days. But like seeing the change in the day, like seeing like the sunrise, the sunset, the high noon, like seeing that change in what's going on in the outside world, or if you can, open a window and hear the birds or whatever's going on in your neck of the woods. But just being aware of that, that change in time, because it's very easy to get kind of in the rabbit hole of, oh, I've been online all day. Yes, you have. And now it's 10 o'clock and you need to go to bed.
Hey, Joey, this is Rob. I just wanted to underscore the point that, I'm sorry, I missed who that last speaker was. Was it Bruno? Was it David?
That was Squire.
Oh, Squire. Hey, Squire, how are you?
hi there.
So a month ago, you would not have gone to an office meeting with a bag on your head. I mean, that's the truth of it. A lot of us don't like looking in the mirror and seeing, oh, that blemish or that size of my nose and stuff like that. Guess what? It is what it is, and everybody's used to how you look. You're the only one that's overthinking it. Show yourself. Show up for the meeting and show yourself. Because the truth of the matter is, we're all locked away. I'd like to see your face. I'd like to know you're still all right. I'd like to know you're at the other end of the phone line or the digital line. So make yourself available, and the experience becomes more engaging.
For sure.
Love it, Rob. That's great.
I'm still looking for that Quip document. I saw it on a Twitter post. If I find it, I'll put it in the chat.
Which one? Oh, I think it was actually a Google Doc.
But there's also a Quip one.
Oh, great. So we have multiple sources. Okay. Fantastic. But we'll get that for you, and then as soon as you find it, Rob, just post it in the.
Yeah.
And if it's after the call, just tag Office Hours in Twitter, and
Sure.
we'll circle back that way.
Sounds
Does
good.
anyone else have anything that anything else that they're using to handle this new normal? So who's cooking, who's eating, and who's taking up a new hobby?
Nobody?
Oh, come on! If I have to keep talking, my kids are going to go crazy. So that's fine. I'll start. We baked homemade bread on Wednesday, and then the kids actually baked Oreo stuffed chocolate chip cookies, which turned out they looked like these like small rocks, but they were delicious and soft and fluffy. And if you guys want, I'll share the recipe. But Oreo stuffed chocolate chip cookies, who knew? The other thing that we're doing is they're finding ways to get active, whether it be, a workout routine in the basement, or jump roping, or basketball in the driveway, or chalk drawings in the front yard. All trying to get outside and get active. All right, here we go. We've got Instant Pot butter chicken from Williams Sonoma. Brittany, I love it. The link is in the chat. I'm deciding if I should put the link on the resources, probably. And I love it. And then you're doing Insanity Beachbody workouts. I know that there's quite a few online options that are making themselves free right now. So jump on some of those trial offers, see what you like, and then support those businesses if you can. And then How to Freeze Everything from Bon Appetit, very nice. So we'll get those pulled into the resources.
I read something the other day, I'm not sure I entirely agree with, but it's probably something to talk about, is one of the things that a lot of Americans specifically are going to have a challenge with is being like isolated and sedentary. Your body can think that means you're going into some sort of like hibernatory mode and will start telling you to
Yeah.
build fat and eat carbs, and being thoughtful of as good as a handful of pretzels sound, being thoughtful about what you're putting in your body will help your energy stay up and help you respond better when we get to go back into the world. So I don't know if I entirely agree with it, but I thought it was an interesting conversation.
I think it's a possibility. I think it's definitely a possibility. Susan, you're keeping track of your steps. You're at 624 today. You're gonna blow that out of the water soon. I know you are. I spent I think it was 3 hours on the phone pacing, trying to cancel vacation today. And then I realized my Fitbit battery was dead, and so plug that in, and we'll get some more steps later. But there's a lot of things that you can do to keep going, and this is great. So any of you can unmute and talk anytime. I don't need to keep talking.
Yeah. Yeah. Filling that silence with our own voices never helped anybody. So yeah.
No. And if you're not careful, I am going to turn video on, and then my kids are going to run away from me. So, FitBlitz has been really great. It was a great trial through Dreamforce and connecting with people online. I know there's a Ohana Slack if you're looking to connect with people because maybe your team is not as connected, and we can find that information. Does anyone on the line know what that is? Because we can get you that too if you're feeling lost. Anything else? Susan, you don't have to shower to be on this call. It's all good. We're not gonna make you feel bad about that. I haven't showered yet. I started my day at the grocery store. I'll shower a little bit later. I probably would have done it if I hadn't been on hold with everybody.
I'm curious how many people are kind of in a freeze right now because with the business said, non-critical changes are not going to go through. Is everyone experiencing that? And if so, what are you going to do with that new time? Or is it just me?
I think that's really interesting. Like they've just put like all non-critical code changes or business changes.
Everything. Our platform is in we're being really asked to verify and validate the business need before we put a change in place, whether it's declarative or programmatic. So we're doing break fix, we're doing reporting, we're helping with remote access and mobile. But if someone wants a new process, we're putting a block on it until we can be like more present. I'm hoping they release that tension, but for right now, we're really being asked to do critical updates only. So thank you, Rob. That's the good link. Thank you.
Not a problem. To your point, I'm in a consulting role right now with a Salesforce consultancy practice. We're all remote to begin with. So our work is highly dependent on our client work. And in many cases, their work is dependent on their client work. So for the past week, we've been actually probing them and asking, do you expect your businesses to positively impact, negatively impact, or perhaps neutral? It runs the gamut in terms of their responses. Generally, though, we have a lot of work. We have people, who still want projects to go forward. And I think if there is a common pattern that is a new thing, and that we all can take away on this call and leverage, it's that senior leadership now wants dashboards on steroids because their people are no longer around the corner, down the hall. Hey, where's that number? Hey, where's last month's number? Where's last month's report? Or, the bane of all existence, where's that spreadsheet? So consequently, the ability to drive better analytics and real-time analytics out of Salesforce, that's what I see as a common need across the board.
Yeah, that's I can totally see that. So that's a great question, Brittany. I don't want to change the topic if anybody has any follow on for Rob's point, but Brittany, you have a great point. So.
And then Karen said, hoping to implement DevOps for your company. So does anyone have any tips and tricks about DevOps? Carlos?
Carlos doesn't know anything about DevOps.
Carlos, you're on mute still.
Oh wait, he knows everything about DevOps.
He does. He knows lots about DevOps. The reason we're giving Carlos a hard time, I don't know, he must have dropped off or he got hung up doing something. But it's Copado works around DevOps quite a bit, and there's a lot of documentation there. Help you with some of that, I guess.
Yep.
And
Susan,
then,
great idea to use Chatter for connectedness. Quip as well, to my earlier comment, another great way to have platform-specific collaboration and connectedness going on. So that's a good call.
Any specific resources to look up the DevOps documentation? Hey guys, this is Kiran, by the way. Work as a technical lead.
There's if I understood your question, there's a ton of documentation kind of scattered about the ether. I know that there is a book that I think Copado actually had something to do with printing called Mastering Salesforce DevOps that's produced by
Andrew Davis.
I'm sorry?
Andrew Davis.
Yes, that's the one. Yeah, and I about halfway through it, I'm finding it pretty valuable. Sounds like you've read it.
I've heard about it. I was gonna go purchase it. The problem is there's like so many resources, and I wanted to get some feedback from the community to see, which one is the most latest or most valuable. So I could actually start there. It seems like the Andrew's book is famous, so I'll probably start there.
Yeah.
Any other pointers would be great.
I'll also offer that Copado and I'm trying to remember who the other big player is off the top of my head. They're great resources to even start the conversation. So I mean, if you initiate a call, it's going to be a bit of a sales call, but at the same time, they might be able to point you in the direction of good resources. And now's a great time to do that because we've got time to take a call. So.
Gotcha.
Is GearSet the one?
Yes, thank you. Yes.
Yeah, I second that. I've talked with GearSet and they are happy to share resources around best practices for DevOps.
The first initiative is to actually put some continuous integration strategy in place. We have some defensive version control system, as in we back up the metadata and the code every other hour into a Git repo, but that's about it. So trying to take that forward from there.
Sure. I mean, I think that that Davis book kind of covers enough of the kind of broader picture to help you decide what's valuable to your business, and then reaching out to some of these other companies would definitely help you fill in the gaps.
Sure. Thank you.
Joy, if it's okay, let's go back to Brittany's question because I think it would be really important to kind of get more feedback. Susan, thank you for responding. But she asked, does anyone have an elevator pitch on why orgs need to keep their full-time admins in an era where people are being laid off because of the current state, you know, what are the risks? What are the reasons that we should make sure that you know, we have value being out of pocket? And Susan's comment about verifying security settings and verifying remote access, those are great reasons, very tactical reasons. But you know, what else is there? What else? Without just sounding like like trying to keep our jobs. You know, what are the things that we're still delivering value on? And that dashboard example earlier is great, but what else?
Well, it's Rob again. I'll steal a page from David Giller's stickers that he hands out at, you know, dreaming events and the like. You know, things like everything's great until the Salesforce crashes, you know, then what?
Yep.
You know, and Google does not have the answer to everything, and so on. You know, he has all these stickers which are perfect value propositions. I'm not going to do them justice, but I'll bet if you go to his website, you'll probably see his taglines that would reinforce these same points. Back to you, Squire.
Yep.
This is Susan.
Hey.
Hey, a couple of things to add to answer that question. How can you ensure that you're adding value so that you can keep your job? Well, we know that everyone is going remote now, so you are controlling the keys to that remote platform. So right now, more than ever, obviously security you want to look into, but also how can you make it more efficient for the users? So what kind of automation can you add to it? Can you reduce clicks? Can you look at your page load times to make the pages load faster? We know there's a big strain right now on the infrastructure for internet. So do your part to make the pages go faster. Do your part to make the agents do their job faster. That way they can lay off the agents, not saying we want that, but they can lay off the agents because they can be more efficient because you're making them more efficient.
That's awesome. Something that's top of mind for me, and again, to your comment that everyone's remote and everyone needs to have access, is now might be a great time to reinitiate conversations about optimizing the mobile experience, especially with the new app. Sitting down with a business and saying, your app looks like this, but it could be better from the mobile device you want to use now. What are the things we can change and implement? And you know, that sort of change has low risk, but high results by just starting those conversations.
Yeah, Brittany, I saw your comment about the page load times. You can actually, are you in Lightning? You can enable, yes, okay. There's a couple of things that you can do. One, you can actually go into setup and you can see the actual page load times for your common pages, and you can see what browsers they're using. So if you see people on IE11, you can convert them over or have that conversation to convert them over. You can see, oh, the contact page on average, it's taking 10 seconds to load, and then you can know to focus your time on that. I also enable in all of my orgs a little meter that shows how long every page I'm going to is taking to load. And so when it's red, I know that that page is taking a long time to load. Let me figure out how to get that to you. It's under setup and send that to you.
That'd be great. Thank you very much. One of the things I would ask too, I mean, for again, it probably more applicable to solo admins without the infrastructure around them to help with this. But you know, sometimes tech debt just seems like busy work to the uninitiated. So taking the time to write a almost like a business case or a use case around a tech debt change can help with that conversation and really help understand or help the leadership understand why that's so important. Tech debt seems like such a four-letter word sometimes to business leaders and the people who pay the bills, but now is a great time to sit down and really deliver it like a business value outcome. So I'd take a minute to do that too.
It's a great start to things that we can do to address what's going on. Someone help me remember what the optimizer is a great way to identify places to start. If you're not sure about where to start with things, bringing the optimizer into your org will give you a great place to start and to really understand what's going on with your org if you're not certain about where to begin. And it'll help you understand like what kind of efforts involved and what kind of impact it can have.
One that is, I think going back to Susan, to your comments too, that is important is the laundry list of critical updates that sometimes don't get their fair attention. Now's another great time to do that. It might seem like technical debt, but sitting down and going through all those settings, understanding how they impact the business, and maybe even writing up, a technical spec for leadership to sign off on will help you not only clean up what could be risk, but also kind of gives you, again, another flag in your, or sorry, that was Brittany that asked the question, but put a flag on your desk to say, like, this is what I'm doing. It's not just writing reports, it's making sure that this platform drives our business and we succeed because of it, not in spite of it.
For sure. So I can't wait to see and hear about everyone's business cases. And
yeah, right.
Yeah. There's a lot of work to do if you're in kind of like in a gray space like Squire is. All those fields they can be documented better. The help text can be improved. What the fields are used for can be improved. Page layouts can be reviewed if you're not completely locked down for optimization also. Everyone's got those 3 fields that no one knows what they're used for. Maybe they get shifted down to like the bottom of the page, like down there by like the system timestamps, and they're just like, these are going to be deprecated eventually. I just have to figure out what they're used for to see if you can, release those. So does anyone, look at that, lightning usage and the page load time. Yes, Susan, that works great. And then in-app guidance is fantastic. If anyone has anyone else used that yet? In-app guidance is fantastic because the Salesforce adminning by walking around that Mike Gearholt has talked to us all about, and that Squire mentions in the chat, Sabwa is not an option right now. It's very hard to go look over your user's shoulder and be helpful to them. And so how can you do that without being next to them or without being in the same office space? How are you handling that now? So that in-app guidance is going to be key to your success, and that would be a huge win, as you move forward, because not anyone can do that. And I apologize. I keep getting a ping in my ear because my husband is texting me incessantly about our flight rebooking for the vacation that I was on hold for 3 hours this morning. So he just keeps texting. He keeps texting me. I'm like, stop. But it's all connected, right? I'm on the phone and it's all good stuff. So the ping keeps coming in my ear. Anyone else? Nothing? Y'all are quiet.
Quiet. All right, how about this? Is there a feature that just never seems to rise to the surface that now's your time to evaluate and maybe implement? Is this like the green light finally, because we're all sedentary, for lack of a way to describe it? in-app guidance is a great example of that, but I'm wondering if anybody else has been like, now's the chance. We finally get to turn on territory management. We finally get to implement path on something.
Oh, that's another great one, is like tweaking path with any of the notes on the side, because you've got your fields and then you've got like your, I forget what they call it, like it's like not hints, but there's another word for it and I can't remember the name of it, but it's the guidance part of it.
Yep.
Of path. And so that's a great time to review what is already there, and if you can add to it, you can work on that. Or at least document what you would like to do if you're stuck in the freezer zone. I know that Quip I'd be all over Quip. If you don't have that Quip, it's a great time to explore with Quip and see how that goes. If you can get the okay for that. And then Rob, I love that your note from David Giller about don't confuse your quick Google search for years of hands-on experience by a certified Salesforce administrator. That's fantastic. I think we've all been there. We've all seen that in action. Maybe we've perhaps been that person in action until we got certified, until we got the wisdom around best practices. I'm really glad that you guys are just having a, no problem week. This is fantastic.
Yeah, they didn't need us. That's awesome.
I know, didn't need us at all. Just wanted to chat with us. That's fantastic.
Entertain
That's
them.
fantastic. I would recommend everyone take a run at Trailhead then with all this extra time you have of not having to solve any problems, but and see where. I think there was a new release. Was it last week or the week before, Squire? Do you remember?
On Trailhead? Yeah, last week.
Yeah, they released some additional badges. So if you thought you had all the badges, or you thought you had all the badges that you were going to tackle, I bet there's some more out there. And I haven't grouped them together because I have like 18 that I've started that I didn't finish for one reason or another. And so I've been trying to get through my unfinished badges. The ones where you dip your toe in, but then you don't finish them.
Well, yeah, I'm there.
Because you don't have time for the project, or you get interrupted, or whatever the reason is. You get like partially through it, and Trailhead's like, you've dipped your toe in this one. You have to come back. I've been working through those last couple days. Let's see. Any other questions? Concerns, help? I would recommend that with everyone working virtually, perhaps, that you make sure you've got a good chair, because it's probably where you're going to spend the most amount of time, or you have a setup where you can switch chairs, or you can stand up occasionally and walk around and move around and change your positioning some. But I'm so grateful that we have this group of people that are just kind of checking in with everyone and saying hi. I love that you guys are really just here to say hi. I love it.
Yeah. I think there's definitely, that's probably the thing I miss the most about being in the office, is as much as I complain about the drive and the meetings and everything else, there's something about someone cares that I have a cup of coffee, or someone wants to know how my weekend was, and you lose that here in your home office. So even if we spend an hour making bad jokes and slapping virtual high fives, that's value right there, right?
Right, for sure. If you guys don't start chatting, I'm going to start telling really bad jokes, and I know you didn't like my last one. Because I don't have any new ones teed up. I only have the bad ones. So what does anyone have anything else they want to chat about?
I'm ready for the
Everyone-
jokes.
There you go, John.
What was that?
John wants a joke.
Yeah, I'm looking
you're
forward
right.
to the jokes. I'm just here to break up the day.
Okay, knock, knock, knock.
Who's there?
Gorilla.
Gorilla who?
Gorilla me a hamburger. I'm hungry. It's so bad. It's so bad.
And now it's recorded and it's in the internet forever.
It's not original even. It's just so bad. It's my go-to. So if anyone's got another one, let's hear it because I love a bad joke. I love a bad joke.
I've got my
so-
favorite Corona joke of the week.
Oh, let's hear it.
Why is everyone buying so much toilet paper?
I don't know. Why is everyone buying so much toilet paper?
Hmm. Because every time someone sneezes, 100 others take a shit.
Well played, John. Well played.
The kind of humor you appreciate when you have a 4 and 5-year-old boy.
Yeah.
Well, I've got teenagers, so I can still appreciate that. That's fantastic. That's fantastic. So if everyone's all squared away and set, should we just wrap this up, Squire?
I think that makes sense. Give everybody a couple minutes, maybe grab a sandwich before their next meeting.
Yeah, right. So everyone, thank you so much for joining us today. We're excited that you joined us. We're glad you're here. We're happy to be to bring everyone together. You can reach out to us on Twitter and the Success Community. Check out all of the virtual meetings because now you don't have an excuse not to go to a community-led event if they've gone virtual. So be sure to check that out. And then I will warn you that when you go to this link, the trailhead.salesforce community events, you will have to click into the events to see what's going on with them because the trailhead.salesforce.com page is not necessarily real-time updated with changes that are going to the event. So definitely click into those community conferences so that you can know what's happening. But aside from that, that's really it. So we'll see you on the internet, and we'll see you in the community. And then if you have any questions, post them in the Success Community, and don't forget to tag us, with our favorite hashtags: Problem Solve Together, Community Learner, MVPOH, and we'll talk to you in a couple weeks.
Thanks, everybody. Stay healthy.
Thank you.
Thanks so much, guys. Bye.
Bye, everybody.